everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cleaning and Cocktails. You guys know the deal. I bring on guests. We talk shop on the cleaning industry, whether they're cleaning business owners, whether they're suppliers, manufacturers, in this case, a software company who didn't just start as a software company. I have Lisa First-Willis here with me, who is a co-founder and CEO of Truvelop. She's out of the Baltimore, Maryland area. And I say she didn't just come from the software company because she's got over 25 years of HR experience. And you guys are going to get to know Lisa very well. Lisa, I want to take a second and say thank you for joining me. I know how busy you are, how busy life is, how busy building a tech startup is. So I wanted to open up our drinks, right?
Yes.
Shout out to Castilzo for sponsoring and always taking care of me. What do you got there, Lisa? What do you got?
So because we're based in Baltimore, Ricky, and I was super excited that we were doing cocktails during our interview. I thought that would be a lot of fun. So thank you. So this is a Union Craft brewery based right locally in Baltimore. Really amazing craft brewery. Very, very popular locally. And they have a couple really great different types of beers. So the one that I'm going to be drinking today, and we'll see how this goes. I may be drinking two. It's called the True Bohemian Lager. This is a skipjack Pilsner. So we'll give
Love it.
Little shout out to Craft, keeping it local.
Shout out to Union. There you go. There you go. I love craft beer. So Lisa, it's actually awesome that you brought that up because I might go search them and get me one. So as I said, everybody, I have Lisa First-Willis, co-founder and CEO of Truvelop. I love the name, and you guys are going to get to know what Truvelop is. Let's share to the audience who Lisa is. And I always like to just make it simple. Like, how did you get into the cleaning industry and where you're at today?
So I'm a Midwesterner, born and raised. So I grew up a little south of Akron, Ohio. I've been to Chicago a million times. I love Chicago. It's one of my favorite places. And I think that there's something special about the people in the Midwest. And when you start to carry that to the East Coast, Baltimore is very much the same way. So Chicago, Cleveland, Akron, where I grew up. And then when you take that to Pittsburgh and all the way to Baltimore, they're all very connected, right? And it's really about strong working families that do everything they can to succeed and to take care of their family, their friends, hardworking people. And that's rooted in my soul. And I know that from my dad, who, when I grew up, he worked at General Tire his entire life, his entire career. So very familiar with industrial settings, industrial manufacturing. And he actually worked on the labor side for General Tire. So all throughout growing up, that gave me the bug to work in some sort of human resources, employee relations, labor relations environment. And when I graduated from school, and I went to school in Baltimore, I knew that I had to do something that was in industrial labor relations. And that brings me basically to where I am today, and had an amazing career working in human resources with a lot of different companies, did a lot of work in global manufacturing, domestic manufacturing, and also had the chance to work with a lot of white collar professionals as well, whether that was like in technology or banking or all these different kinds of industries throughout the 25 plus years that I did HR. And by far, Ricky, my most favorite work experiences and where I really got excited about what I did was when I got to be on the front line. And that was working with people and understanding their challenges and what it means for them to go to work every day. And what are some of the things that inspire them and motivate them to come in and sometimes do really thankless jobs, whether that's in the cleaning industry or it's manufacturing or it's doing food prep or construction or warehouse, whatever. Those are the real people, in my opinion. And those are the ones that I had set out when I started this technology company. Those are the people that I want to inspire motivate, and help them create the most amazing workplace experience ever, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of a long answer to your question.
No. Well, like I told you, I like to wing it. And by what you just said, it sparked a couple things, two things I was writing down. I always like to write stuff down as I'm listening. So when you say frontline in the manufacturing and then frontline in the cleaning industry, with your years of experience, is there a difference in any case where when I think of frontline manufacturing, right, I'm thinking of a plant, I'm thinking on the line, there's a process going on, it's a well-oiled machine. And then when you think of frontline in the cleaning industry, it's not necessarily like a well-oiled machine, right? You're very different. So what did you start to notice? Again, because you're on the people side. So what was the differences? What did you see was pros and cons? Because again, the cleaning industry is a little different as far as how staffing, it's like a logistics approach, right?
Totally. So there's manual labor where you're working with your hands, and then there's frontline labor where you're working with machining or tooling or more of your industrial manufacturing versus where it's tool assisted versus working with your hands. So dispatching people or dispatching equipment or working in a very structured environment, which an industrial manufacturing plant would be. Very structured and very SOP driven. Where the cleaning industry, what I've seen being very different is that your end product is the person who's presenting and representing themselves every day and going into a customer location. You're not going to interact with the frontline worker that's working in industrial manufacturing. There's not going to be a customer interaction in that regard versus oftentimes in the cleaning industry, you will have exposure to different people throughout the workday if you're cleaning an office building, or maybe you do work the night shift and you are working solo and it's 24-hour to 24-hour operation. You may not have that direct customer interaction, but you're still there, and your work, whether it's assisted with equipment or not, it's a very taxing job physically.
Yeah, I feel like the dynamic of the type of employee that you need for a frontline worker, especially in the cleaning industry, you just said it, is there's an added element of client facing and like some type of charisma or just an outgoing piece to their characteristics, because you will be talking to tenants of a building, tenants of an office space. Like there's going to be that. And again, not that you have to be go lucky and happy and high five and all that energy, but there is that element of you need to have those skills, right? And those traits. In the 25 years, as you went from working in industrial to then working with BSCs, did you see that? Is that something that you noticed? Yeah, totally.
My favorite customers that I work with are in the BSC space. And I posted that last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever we got back from the BSC AI conference in Vegas. There's something very special going on in the cleaning industry and the dynamic of the workforce and the level of energy and the family dynamic that is so strong and so powerful in the cleaning industry in a way that I've never seen before. I've worked in a lot of different environments, as we already talked about, right? In a lot of different industries. There's something very connected about the cleaning industry that is very special, very different. And if I'm an employee and I don't feel that from the employer, and I've talked to employees about this. Why do you leave? Why do you stay? There's something about the cleaning industry that is very much tied to purpose, tied to inspiration and motivation, feeling valued, feeling respected. And that's everything I talk about every day when I'm trying to sell this technology. If you're a company that does not truly care if that employee feels valued or respected or connected to their purpose and the mission and vision of that company, then they don't need my product, because that's so much of what we've embedded in what we do is all about helping that employee feel valued, feel inspired. They understand their job's important, and it's very purpose driven. And that is ideal for the people that I've met in the cleaning industry. Oftentimes it's a thankless job. You talk about that all the time. It's a tough job. Physically and mentally. Mentally, because it can be thankless at times. And I've heard you talk on a couple different podcasts about this, but something had to change post-COVID, where for the first time ever, I'm sure there were a lot of cleaners, and I've heard this, walk into an office environment once people returned to the office, and suddenly they were visible versus invisible, and people actually said, thank you. Thank you for what you do. I didn't realize how much went into keeping people safe and keeping people able to come back into the office place. Ricky, that's amazing that now, as horrible of an event as that was, it was a cleaning industry that allowed people to come back into the workplace, right?
Yeah.
and start to reestablish that culture and being able to come back and work and be part of a group or a family.
It's important. It's still, it hasn't gone to the point where I think it should go, where clients still have to learn how long it takes to properly clean. There's a difference between clean and disinfecting and processing a building and, all that stuff. You touched on this, but it starts with the company, though, the business, right? Like us 100%. As business owners, the company, we build that culture of we can thank our team members over and over again. So at least if we're building that home and that environment in the workplace that we give them purpose, they'll eventually get that when they're in the workspace. You can't do it to get a thank you, but at some point they recognize that and they're aware. Again, our job as the business owner and the team and the leadership team, do that extra thing for your team so that they feel that. You said your father worked at his company probably so long. My aunt worked at ComEd for like 40 years.
Yeah.
I've known that generation would stay in their company for a long time. Right. Why do you think a lot of employees this day and age, though, they do leave companies often? There is many that don't, though, still to this day. So what do you think? Is that something to do with company culture, or what leads to employees leaving and turning over?
So there's a couple of different things that I'm seeing, Ricky. What I don't want to do is quote all the stats. This is what I personally have experienced. Like I can quote all the Gallup stats, I can quote all of those and all of that and all the research. But when I really get down to it, and when I have the conversations one-on-one with people on why they chose to leave or why they chose to stay, which is so important because not enough people go through that stay interview process. And that's
speak up.
So huge. Like you have to understand why people are motivated to stay at your company, catch them before it's too late, and have those conversations regular and often. But people are staying, and it's interesting. The dynamic of the workforce is constantly changing. And it's changing now more than it ever has before, in that you've had more people leaving the workforce post-COVID, and we haven't replaced those workers. So there's not enough people entering the workforce. I have 5 kids. I know you have a lot of kids. There's not a lot of people that are entering the workforce. There's not enough. Families weren't having as many children as they used to when we saw our parents stay at the same job for 35, 40 years.
Yeah.
It's totally different. Everything's changed. The dynamic has changed about work. People now actually care about why they're working in a particular organization and what is the purpose of that organization, and does it fit with my purpose and my desire? People want to know that I work for a good company that is good to the environment, that has the right mission and the right vision and has some principles associated with it. Is that an end result of COVID? Maybe. A lot of the research tells us it is, that people took a step back and said, what is it all about?
Yeah.
And why do I want to stay at this company when no one appreciates me? I don't feel valued. I spend all my time, the majority of my time during the work week, working.
Right?
So if you work with people who don't inspire you, if you work with people who don't say thank you, if you don't feel appreciated, why stay there? And the market and the economy is such that you can go find another job tomorrow in a different industry, making more money, having more flexibility than what you have now. It's tough out there. So if you aren't creating that value, purpose-driven environment, you're missing the boat. And my guess is you have a lot higher turnover than the companies that really get to understand what motivates, drives, and inspires their workforce.
100%. 100%. So let's lead into Truvelop. When I first heard of Truvelop, Lisa, and you've been honestly consistent and always showing up and always being you and your team. You got a great team. They keep growing. I see new team members all the time. For those that don't know who Truvelop is, share a little bit about how did you become a tech founder? Because essentially you're building a software right now. So you know me, I'm a big advocate on software, but obviously Truvelop is for the HR space for us guys. So as you're listening, put your HR hat on and think of the needs you might need as a BSC with your organization. But please, Lisa, actually tell me, how did the Truvelop name come to be? I've always wanted to ask you that.
So we went through a lot of iterations on the name. So just talk about timing and bad luck. Ricky, go back to when COVID started. We launched our commercial product at the beginning of COVID. We were all excited. No. We're like, we're launching our commercial product. Here we come, because we had gone through beta. You've gone through that whole process, and you know how hard it is to develop a product. Our commercial launch was January of COVID, 3 months before lockdown.
Oh.
You know,
and you're still here. So
I'm
boom.
still here.
Thank you.
But I'll tell you, and you know what that comes down to, honestly, I talked to so many people during COVID. You know, you started having all those virtual meetings. It was just bizarro world, right? But there were a lot of really successful HR technology founders, investors that told me, look, girl, if you can survive the next 12 to 18 months, you're golden, because that's going to tell the story. And look, sure enough, we came out of COVID being better for it, Ricky. And there was so much that we put into place technology-wise that took into account that sometimes people are remote, but it also dove even deeper into that employee experience and really understanding how to communicate with people, how to understand their motivators, their demotivators, how to be the best possible manager that you can be to keep people coming back and to keep people motivated. And during that time, it was hard to keep people motivated. You had kids at home, you had all the crazy, you had the uncertainty as parents, not knowing what was going to happen next and having your kids at home. I'm a lot older than you, Ricky. My college age kids came home during COVID. And if you can imagine having 3 college age kids come home, and our younger boy, I guess, was in middle school at the time. And he was like, what is happening? For all the college kids to come home at the same time and be like, what do you mean we can't leave?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a crazy time. And I'm trying to build this company, right? And I, walked away from my HR consulting career and was like, no, I'm going to put everything I have into building this business. And that's what we did. And here we are in 2023, almost 2024. And I've been so blessed and so fortunate to have built this really strong relationship within the BSC community. And I just love it, Ricky. Like, I am so inspired by it. I love it. I love just being around people who are doing something that makes a difference, right? And it's just, that's what motivates me. That's what drives me.
Nice. Awesome. Well, what are the top 3 pain points that Truvelop and you and the team are like, that's your mission that you're trying to solve with what you've developed and the solutions that you're coming up with?
So, Ricky, I'll tell you our value prop, which has evolved over time. So the name Truvelop came from really understanding what is it that we're trying to drive. And we like to refer to ourselves as a retention solution for today's workforce. That could be both hourly, that could be professional, that could be salaried employees. It doesn't matter. But we just happen to love working with the frontline hourly workforce. But Truvelop, it comes from true development. Merge those words together and it becomes Truvelop. So there's 3 things that we do really, really well and what the technology was designed to do. First, was to fix an antiquated, broken performance review process. I don't care if you are a cleaner, if you are an accountant, or if you are on a manufacturing line. Everyone deserves to know how they're performing today, what their opportunities for improvement are, and where they stand. That's so important. Like, somebody tell me, how am I doing? Are there things I could do better? Are there things that I'm falling short on? What is my path to success? Every employee deserves to work in an environment where they feel valued. They always know where they stand. That's core to what I believe in, what Truvelop is really all about. So that's the first piece, is that we're going to fix that broken process. And it really comes through companies adopting a true coaching culture where you consistently evaluate your teams. And most importantly, you deliver real-time feedback in the moment when it counts. If I wait 12 months from now to say, hey, Ricky, by the way, if you had only done this differently, you might have been eligible for that promotion.
Oh.
What do you mean? And Ricky, I have to believe this in working in what you do. What if you never told somebody that if here's your path to success, or here's what I see in you that's going to take you to the next level or promote you to a supervisory position? Would you be interested in being a supervisor one day? What if we never had those conversations?
Yeah.
Like, why would you work there?
That's so true. I mean, it's too late already if you've waited that long.
Exactly.
And
so we're pushing consistent, continuous, real-time feedback in the moment when it counts. And of course, our technology on the back end is promoting all of this behavior. And we're pushing on the manager and the employee. We have a really slick mobile app. You've seen the mobile app. We also have the desktop app. But it makes the technology accessible when it's mobile. If you're working in an environment where I'm dispatching employees to the field and it's not mobile, we're missing the boat. Everyone has a mobile device. Whether you incentivize employees to use their mobile device and download apps, that's one way to do it. Or they're downloading scheduling apps. They're downloading all this other technology anyway. So it's very easy for them to download Truvelop on their mobile device. And now I have a fast, easy, quick way to get real-time feedback anywhere that I'm working. So if I'm out at a job site, or if I'm working in the office, or if I'm traveling from job site to job site, I have the ability to be connected with my team and with my managers. And those managers are going to change. It's rare that we have one manager managing the same 5 people every day. It's multiple managers. You have to be flexible. Your technology has to be able to adapt to the work environments that we work in today. And we built our product with that in mind from the beginning, where it's not stringent, it's not so tight that it's not going to accommodate a very fast-paced, constantly changing work environment, which so much of the HR tech out there, Ricky, today is just stuck in this very rigid, hierarchical, was not designed for frontline distributed workforces. It certainly wasn't designed with operations in mind and field ops and complex work environments. And that's what we have. You have people going to different job sites throughout the day. I may or may not have the same supervisor. You're going to have a lot of turnover. So it has to be flexible, it has to be adaptive. And that's what we built. So being able to provide regular feedback, helping employees always know where they stand, and the added benefit from using our technology, which really evolved over time, is that we're developing managers into being better leaders just by using our app. So we're pushing all of this actionable next step, actionable recommendations to both managers and employees, and it's helping to improve that relationship at the front line, which in my experience, that is a key driver.
That's key. That is
key to engagement.
So key. Yeah.
Productivity, performance. Look at your supervisory management team, Ricky. The frontline supervisors and managers. If they are not connected with their teams, or if you're not seeing that connection and that spark and that just the excitement for that team, who do you look to fix that?
Yeah, you need the middle management there. You need supervisors. And this is a great topic. It is so important because think about it. It's an ideal situation that the team in the field, the technicians, the frontline, the managers, that they're living and breathing and drinking the Kool-Aid and the mission and the core values. Like, that's not always going to happen. And it's not going to happen because your middle management isn't leading the charge for the frontline, because you're not giving them the tools. Like I made a post today. How funny is it about, do you want to be a leader or a boss? Right? Leaders lead, bosses manage, in my opinion, right? But at the same time, supervisors and the area managers and our middle management in the cleaning industry, especially because of the logistics, they're tasked to be in the field a lot. And if they're not in the home office, the technicians are barely in the home office, right? Yeah. Because they are tasked to go clock in at the location, service that account. Yeah. Supervisor may stop in once a week or every other day in the office. So who's carrying the message to lead that team, right? So let me ask you, is it in multi-language? Yeah. Is the app and technology? Okay, that's a big plus. It has to be. Yeah. Because then there's a barrier, right? There's definitely a barrier. Okay. I think this is so important because without our people, especially in the cleaning service industry and the building service contracting space, without the people being excited to do the work they do or carrying on the values that you have as an office or as a company or as a leadership team, turnover, it's going to go. And then the client's going to suffer. And then again, the retention rate of you keeping that client year over year is going to go because the technician you have there, the frontline team, doesn't care about the message you're trying to deliver because they don't feel there's a purpose because middle management didn't share that vision with them. Leadership didn't share the vision with the middle management. I love this topic, to be honest, because it is very important for us. You can sell all the accounts you want, but if you can't promote and lead the team that you have servicing the account, you're going to lose that business day over and day out.
100%, Ricky. And the other added benefit that we really came after working with different customers was that as you collect all of this data and as you're collecting all these meaningful touch points between managers and employees and performance data and attitude data, our real-time feedback we call Sparks. What we're seeing today is that for our customers that have a high volume of Spark activity, that's the real-time feedback. That's, hey, great job today.
I love that you call it
coaching.
sparks.
Yeah.
Spark the energy. Spark. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's a spark, right? And that could be spark development. It could be course correction. It could be, hey, I don't think you understand the SOP. Watch this quick video. Bam. And I get a text message that says, Ricky, you just received a spark from Ricky. Hey, Lisa, here's a quick video. I noticed that you may not have the most recent SOP. Watch this video on how to do the job. And
simple. And you just open it up. It's like you would open up a social media link, right? Like my mother, I love you to death, but you send me way too many TikTok videos. But like she sends me these videos, I got to open it because I got it and it's quick and it's.
But imagine if now all of that interaction is documented. And imagine if I'm not sure how to best manage or best coach my team because I'm a new supervisor. I was just promoted to my job. It happens all the time. They're a great performer. We throw them into a new role, but they may not necessarily have the training and the guidance. All of that is embedded inside our app so that we can develop that manager into being a better leader each and every day. And if they're using the app, if they're sparking their teams, if they're sharing real-time feedback in the moment when it counts, there is a direct link to productivity, to performance, and to reduction of safety incidents. And what do you think it impacts most importantly? That retention rate.
The retention rate. Yep.
All this data is connected. And it all comes down to the strength of the relationship between the manager and the employee on the front line.
And I feel like it's a ripple effect, right? It leads down and then leads up. As a leader or upper management, you should be smiling seeing that happen, right? Like you should want to see sparks every day happening. Right. So let me ask you that then in regards to that. How does that lead up now to upper management? Do they get to see the activity and like a dashboard of what's going on with, wow, I just saw that Maria, my area manager, gave 3 sparks out, developed this one technician. We have a technician that's coming in to be a rock star or another manager position. Is that all, like, do you see that fluidly happening?
Yep. All of that data is in a very easy to understand dashboard that's going to give me my talent landscape, how many top performers, middle of the road, steady Eddie, how many low performers do I have across the org? I can break it down by department, by division, by manager, by division leader. All of that's in the app and it's on a dashboard. I click through and I'm able to see down to who that employee is that's leading up to that aggregate score. So it's very simple. So I'm going to take the big view and then I can continue to dial in the app to get to that actual employee dashboard. The difference here though, Ricky, we can record data all day long, but if the manager has no idea what to do next,
it doesn't. Right? It is meaningless. You're right.
So then we take that another level and we push all of these quick hit, actionable next steps, talking points, conversation starters, how to motivate, how to inspire, how to have a quick conversation guides, quick check-in guides, how to make sure that they're as comfortable as possible to go sit down with you and say, hey, we need to talk because we're not following all of the proper procedures. Or the next time you interact with the customer, try this versus this. Or I noticed lately that. There's a lot of different ways to do that. We make it very easy, very digestible. And again, because all of that guidance is multilingual, now it's accessible, right? So everyone has a chance to improve. Everyone has a chance to be motivated to do more. It's all there.
And Lisa, think about a term that I fell in love with that I learned about in the tech startup world, right? And what we're trying to do with Route, which I see that you're doing with Truvelop in this software is knowledge base, right? Like think about as BSCs and we're growing and scaling. I just, for the first time, I'm so happy I got some of my team involved with strategic coach. They're going to be taking advantage of the team tools. And, right. So, but you don't have that opportunity all the time. But I get the sense within Truvelop and what you were just talking about, you guys have started to establish some knowledge base on some of these tools that a manager can take advantage of because a lot of them want to learn.
Yes.
Me as a business owner, I'm in the ship. Doing this, doing that, right? You get distracted with taking care of so many things that the management team sometimes just wants to be able to read an article or read a blog or be told, right? Like, hey, in this situation, handle it this way, right? Or if you see and recognize and are aware of talent growing on your team, this is how you should dig a little deeper to see if they're ready to grow. Again, I have no time in the world as a business owner trying to manage so many different things to be aware of those little things. Can they find that inside of the Truvelop?
100%. Because we make it very simple, Ricky, because again, it's all about fast, flexible, ease of use, and think operations based. We don't have time to go read 22 books. Don't.
Lisa, you're going to die. I order books all the time. So my team is like, Rick, who's got time to read 6 books that you just bought for us 2 weeks ago? Well, they're like, keep putting them in the bookshelf. Keep putting them in the bookshelf.
And they're great when I have the time to do so. But if I'm out in the field and if I'm being reminded that these are my top performers, I can't afford to lose them. Celebrate them in the moment. That's the kind of next step recommendation we're pushing to them. Well, how do I celebrate them? Click on this light bulb within the app and it's going to take you to a quick read on here are some great ways to celebrate your team or to celebrate that individual right then and there. Now, if I have someone who's middle of the road, steady Eddie, that's a different manager recommendation. For that person, we need to really motivate them and we need to find out what their key drivers are and how do we tap into that potential that we don't really know what's going to get them to advance and go to the next level. Now, underperforming, that guidance is all about coaching. It's all about having that difficult conversation. It's all about here are the things that you can do to start sharing with them and the observable behaviors that you know are problematic. Have that difficult conversation. And here's the 5 bullet points on how to do it.
Look at that. The fact that that's what somebody like myself would be looking for. Because Lisa, a lot of people just, not that they want to be told what to do, but give them some guidance and they'll execute. Sometimes we just don't know, right? It's the what if, is this the right approach? This is a sticky situation. This is awkward. This is uncomfortable. This can guide them to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because I'll tell you, HR as a whole, man, it is uncomfortable. To me, I'm a nice guy. I want to be nice all the time. And my disciplinary, it's like, oh God, should I say this? But you're not helping the case if you aren't being truthful, right? And you don't meet it head on, to your point of before where you said, don't wait 6 months, talk about it there. Because I'm getting excited. You're selling me on Truvelop right now. I'm not gonna lie. Even though you've never sold me on it, right? Like you've never really hard sold. You've always told me about Truvelop. We've had conversations just so everybody knows. You always were patient, and the team is always at the right time. It's gonna happen at the right time, right? I'm loving to understand what you guys do. You're not replacing HR. It's like you are assisting HR. So there's companies that listen in and they're watching this and they're talking about, Rick, I want to hit $1 million in revenue. I want to grow to 50 employees. I want to hit $5 million in revenue. I'm going to hit 500 employees. There's a lot of stages of growth with a company. What does it look like if a company has 50 employees? Do they have one HR person? If a company has 250 employees, do they have 2 HR? What is a good formula for a business owner to know I have to actually build an HR team here for the growth of my company or where I'm going with my company?
So I'm going to challenge you on this one, Ricky. My HR colleagues may or may not like my answer on this.
I like challenges. Let's go.
The question comes down to who owns the employee experience, who has the ability to impact it day to day. And you know my answer to this, right? The more that we can get managers and supervisors involved
I know where you're going.
Affecting the employee experience and really owning that from day one onboarding all the way through development, coaching, talent development. If we get all of those tools and all of those best practices in supervisors and managers' hands, then the number of people on your HR team doesn't have to be 10 or 20. If I'm a manager or supervisor in the field, I need to have that conversation. Why am I calling HR and saying, can you come have this disciplinary conversation with my employee? No, that's not my job. My job in HR is to give you the tools and the support that you need to be successful and to help everyone around you be successful.
And that comes with coaching and guiding and giving them the confidence.
You got it.
Giving them the confidence. Because I'll tell you, that's one less thing we have to worry about inside the office, where if the team in the field can lead their team, oh my God. All right, I wrote that down.
Who owns the employee experience? Now, here's the other thing I want you to do, Ricky. Juliana Withers, who's on my team. So she's our Director of Customer Success and Content Management. Yesterday, she put out a whole toolkit on what kind of manager do you want to be in 2024. And you actually asked that. You said that earlier at the beginning. We were like, oh, it's all about, what kind of manager do you want to be in 2024? So we literally just put out this whole blog post on it on LinkedIn, and you can also see it on our website at truvelop.com. But it really starts to help you ask those questions of yourself. Are there things that I can do differently next year? What are they? And what are the top priorities and top initiatives that are going to really move the needle? Am I focused enough on purpose-driven leadership and what the components of that are? Does every employee feel inspired and motivated? And can I coach them more and help them really realize their full potential? That's what it comes down to. So check that out.
I've been so fixated on HR. Again, not that HR does own a lot of the experience, but like
they do.
I love if you offset that with the managers are a part of that, the leaders are a part of that. It allows you to really, in my opinion, scale better. Now you're going to be able to scale your company because it doesn't fall on one person or then the second person because, that's a lot of pressure. If you could couple that with your leadership, think about it. For every 100 employees, you're probably going to have 2 to 3 managers and then 1 HR. Well, then now you really got 4 HR because your managers are part of the team.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Whew.
It's just a different operating model, Ricky. So there can have a heavy core HR operations at corporate, or you can really operationalize HR and have some of these activities that would traditionally be HR really starting to get managers comfortable with bringing a new employee onto the team. And if you're utilizing technology today in the field, that becomes a lot easier, right? Because there's a lot of things now that we can deploy. Now HR can really focus on some of the strategic initiatives that you need them to focus on. The benefits side. What are some best practices with respect to payroll and some of the training and development programs that they could focus on developing? Take them out of the tactical and help that HR team be strategic by having your managers really own that employee experience in the field.
I love it. I am writing notes down. Everybody's going to be like, Rick, you're not even paying attention. I'm like, no, I'm writing notes. That's why. All right. As we come to a close, Lisa, anything you want to leave just the cleaning business owner that's listening, some of them that are listening and watching, just so you have an idea too, like they're in the middle of it. They're cleaning as we speak. They're dealing with somebody, they just had a fire. They're dealing with somebody that missed a shift, so they got to go cover. Like, I want you to think of the business owner that is still in it right now, because 90% of the space, these business owners are in it, trying to get out of it and manage and lead and build. What kind of advice do you give those business owners that have the aspiration to get out of working in the business to working on and developing their business?
I would say take a look back at some of your key statistics around people and really put it on the board and look at, all right, here's my 5, 10 leaders that I have. Here are their teams. Which ones had the most turnover? Which ones had vacant positions sitting open for really long periods of time? And start to compare some of your operational metrics. Overlay them with your people stats that you have. Things like retention, things like time to fill. How long did those vacancies sit open? What was the ripple effect on that operating team or on that manager and their core team? How did they perform compared to someone who had a really stable team? Turnover and retention is the worst. It impacts everybody. So if we're not doing everything that we can to make sure that we're inspiring, motivating, keeping the people that we have, it's really hard to hire that replacement, and it throws off the whole operation. So if you really want to look at how that impacted your company over the last year, look at those operations metrics, overlay them with the people metrics, and let that data tell the story. Where were the gaps? Where were the opportunities? And what can we do differently in 2024 to avoid that same thing from happening? And get down into the operation and talk to those frontline employees to see, why do you stay? And what are some other things we can do to better support you and give you the tools you need to be successful?
Boom. Mic drop. That was fantastic. Because all of it, it's important for people to see why this all ties in, right? There's no secret sauce. There is no magic pill. All these things ripple effect off each other. I could use what you just said, flip it, put it on a presentation slide, and speak to that to when I'm trying to win business, right? Like now it's a sales tactic for me to say, this is how we stand out because we do what Lisa just said.
Because we value our employees and we're going to give you a consistent product as a result. And you're going to know who we are, and we're going to always show up and be our best for you because we care about our people.
Nice.
That's an easy
Nice.
sell, Ricky.
Easy.
That's an easy sell. And
Easy.
you too. Listen, I've had the chance to get to know you over the last couple of years. And every time I see you and every time I watch your videos, your energy and what you're saying and how you speak from the heart, it is very inspirational. And it inspires people, and people want to follow you. You're a natural born leader. You probably always have been. You probably have always had that competitive nature and spirit. Now you're doing it, right? And I'm so incredibly proud of you. And I've loved watching your journey. Imagine if you can tap into that and someone else in the organization and every one of our managers, if they're always looking for who's that next person that we're going to unleash, who's that next person that we're going to really inspire and help them get the spark that they want to do more and they want to get involved and they want to be out there telling the story. That's when it gets really, really fun. And that's how we give back. Right?
Oh, yeah. And it makes it fun. It really does when you see that happen. So, like, to your point, it is fun. It's a joy to see people come out of their shell and just kick ass because not that you allowed them, but because you recognized and were aware of the ability. You picked them up. Ah, awesome. Well, hey, we could keep going. So again,
I know. This is so fun.
Truvelop. You heard it here first. If you didn't hear about it, boom. Let's go. Listen. Find it, Truvelop.com, Lisa First-Willis. You guys can connect with her on LinkedIn. But one thing I wanted to talk before we leave.
Yes.
I am an avid basketball fan. I have played in college. I've coached. My cousins played. Our whole family is a basketball junkie family. Mm-hmm. And I know Michelle made a note for me is like, you were a basketball star. So, I mean, we always like to talk about something outside of cleaning, something outside of business. Talk to me about your basketball journey.
So one of the questions Michelle sent me before we met, she wanted one personal fact about yourself that nobody knows. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to put there. What am I going to talk about? So I kind of laughed and I said, you know what? Watching you and you're going on your runs and you're doing all that stuff. Yeah. I'm like, all right, I'm going to throw this one out here. Ricky's going to love this. So I was an All-Ohio basketball player back in the day, Ricky. Damn. This was a very long time ago. Very, very long time ago. This is before people had these. If you can imagine, that's when I was lighting it up in the state of Ohio. Because where I grew up in farmland, there wasn't much to do but go shoot 1,000 baskets a day. And it was super fun. I loved playing ball growing up and went to college, played ball in college. And recently, probably, it must have been back in September, I was inducted into my high school Hall of Fame for basketball. As silly as that sounds, it's just high school, but it was such an honor and such a thrill that after all of this time, 30 plus years later, here I am being inducted and my whole family came, my siblings came. Yeah. And it's just one of those things where we had a whole community that really celebrated basketball in our hometown. And still to this day, my high school basketball coach, the one that nominated me, just became the winningest coach in the state of Ohio.
Wow.
Girls and boys. Ricky. That is awesome. That is remarkable.
And think about it, Ohio is a basketball, it's very competitive. Yeah.
Totally.
So like, again, all Ohio, I know what it is to be in all Illinois basketball. So like, that is a huge, huge accolade. Lisa, and the fact, I think it was probably cool for your kids to see that, right? You, Lisa, is hardworking, right? You got your company, you're building your company. They don't think of you as, oh, mom was a basketball star, right? Like, so for them to probably get a chance to see that must have been fun for sure.
It's just great playing competitive sports and then growing up that way. And that opens a lot of doors for me too. And it's just the drive and the willingness to, when you're part of that team, and there's so many great benefits of playing competitive sports, right? You know that. Your whole family knows that. So who knows, Ricky, one day, the next time I come to Chicago, we're going to find a court and we're going to see if I still have any skill.
Let's go. Not me. You should have seen my last I shot 3-point shootout. I shot like 11 out of 25. God, I was so pissed off. But hey, it's all right. But hey, Lisa, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much for jumping on and sharing your story. And again, everybody that listens and watches, we'll have all of Lisa's information. We'll have information on Truvelop. Be on the lookout for the episode. And I want to thank you so much for your time. Everybody that's listening, thank you so much for listening and watching. Until next time, we'll catch you guys later.
Thank you so much, Ricky.